All right, in this Cabinet Vision Minute, we're going to go over kits. And what are kits? Kits are a way, kits is a way, are a way, I'm not sure, but it's a way of grouping together items that aren't ordinarily grouped together, or you wish they were grouped together but aren't in Cabinet Vision. For example, drawer guides and screws. Let's say I need, for Bloom drawer guide, I need 4 screws per side. So I need 8 screws with a drawer guide. So what I'm going to show you is how to do that. What we're going to get to is in reports. I'm going to go to Report Center here quickly. Okay, I have a material summary report that shows I have a drawer guide, a Bloom drawer guide, and I have some 8 screws that go with it. How do I do this? I'm going to show you right now. Okay, kits. Kits are managed in the Material Manager. So in this case, we have I want to group a drawer guide with which I'm going to call the parent material for this, or the parent hardware, the parent drawer guide. I need 8 screws to, to group with my drawer guides. So I'm going to go to drawer guide and show you how I set this up with a Bloom 563H right here. And you see this little tick right there? That shows that I have, that's a group. There's a group, or excuse me, a kit associated with this particular piece of hardware here. So I'm going to double click on this, and in the Material Properties dialog box, we see this kit icon here. It's a button and it'll take you to the kit screen. So in the kit screen, if I click on that, it looks like this. And we can see these drawer guide screws there, and there are 8 of them. Now the way I added those drawer guide screws is I went down to my connector category inside the Material Manager, and I set up a category for screws, and I have several screws in there, and I simply added the one that I want to be included in this kit. So every time a drawer guide, this 563H, is called by Cabinet Vision, it will also add in some screws to that. So I just picked the screw that I wanted. In this case, it was this one here called drawer guide screws. And this is the type of screw that it is I put in the description. Now, I just want to stop for a moment and show you why I put such a generic name inside of my screws category in the Material Manager. And, and that is because that report that we just saw in the opening of this video said drawer guide screws. First there was a category there that said screws, and then there was another category, and maybe I can bring this up on the screen as I'm editing this, but I'll try to do that. There's a category there for screws, and under screws it says drawer guide screws. So that tells me that these screws, which I would never know if I just saw that name here, if I saw the description, I would never know what those screws are for. So I made a very descriptive name of these screws, that these are drawer guide screws. Okay, and I'm going to talk for a minute about that some more when I go into the Materials Manager. Okay, so to make a long story short, I have taken the drawer guide screws and simply brought over, I'll do it with this one here. I'll bring these over into this side. So I'll click this little green arrow here, which says I want to have those assembly screws over there. And I can put in, you know, you need 20 of those screws, right? So Now what would happen is whenever this drawer guide gets called, it's going to also include 20 of these screws and 8 of those screws. Well, I don't want that to happen, but I was just showing you how you add them to this list. Okay, so I'm going to remove that one again. All right. Before you can add anything to this list over there, though, these need to exist in your Material Manager. So let's go back to the Material Manager and talk about that. Okay, so here we are in the Material Manager, and I have, right now we're looking at the drawer guide, but I want to show you about connectors. Now I think cabinets are held together by connectors, whether those are staples or screws or nails or dowels or whatever they are, cabaneos or lamellos or Rayfix, you name it. So I have a category under connector for each of those common things, just to kind of help me organize them. You can have them all in connectors, that's fine. But for me, I wanted to build a category for each of those. Now, to me, that's important to add a category for each of those, because in the reports that you will print for a job, for example, the material summary, if somebody is going to go to your into your warehouse and pick all the parts off the shelf that they need for this job, they would take a material summary with them and they'd start pulling parts off the shelf. And they would be under these categories that are listed in the Material Manager. So in this case, screws, that would tell your guy who's picking this job that he's going to need to go to the screws department and find whatever screw is listed in those, for this job. So if he saw this screw here, he's going to actually pick these number 8 by 7/16, I guess that's panhead truss screws, using a number 2 Phillips or Phillips. I don't know. Anyhow, that's what shows on the box. All right. So now that I've probably confused you with my rambling here, let me see if I can bring this back. How do we add screws? Or first, let's look at it this way. The screws that you want to kit up need to be in the Material Manager. So we need to add those screws. So let's just try that. Let's just add a screw. So I'm going to click New. And this is a type connector. And I'm going to put that this is a sample screw. And the description of that is some part number. It's a number 4, 2 by 1 1/2. And let's say that's what was written on the box, and then it had some other stuff written there also, okay? It's a connector, unit each, that's fine, and finish. So here's my sample screw. It's in the screws category under connectors, and it's a number 4, 2 by 1.5, something or other. And I'm going to add a default cost to that, and these are kind of expensive screws. They're 24 cents a piece. Okay, now I can group that screw. Now this is all I need to do. I need to add the screw so it exists somewhere in the Material Manager. The concept of kits only looks at things inside the Material Manager. So if it's not in the Material Manager, you can't kit it up. Okay, so let's say that those sample screws are always going to be used with this hinge plate, whatever that is. Okay, so I'm going to double click on this hinge plate and I'm going to push the kit button and I'm going to go to my connector, screws, sample screw, add it over here, and I need 2 of those per hinge plate, let's say. Okay, and now we can see that under hinge plate here, just above the blue line, there's that little kite-looking thing up in the upper left-hand corner, which indicates that that particular thing is the parent of a group. If I look at the screws, I don't believe it shows that they are the member of any group or of any kit. It just, that little kite thing only indicates that that is the parent of a kit. Okay, enough to say about that. All right, so I think I've covered everything. So just to review now everything in order of what to do with kits. The first thing we do is we add everything that we wanted to be kitted, in this case, screws. I add screws to the material manager. And make sure you add the default cost in there, because that's going to make your job costing that much more accurate if you include all those things. I mean, the old saying, we get nickel and dime to death. Here's the nickel and dimes we're talking about right there. Okay, so add the child of the kit that you want to add to the material manager, and then go to the parent, and then add to the parent the item under kit. Add the screws, in this case, to the left side of that screen. This is just material manager over here. Add it over to this side by clicking on the arrow, which adds stuff to the left side. You can remove stuff from the left side by clicking on it and then clicking on the right arrow above it. That will send it back. All right, let me close this, and I think that covers everything I was talking about. If not, give me a holler, reach out. Bruce at craftsmanengineering.com, or excuse me, B. Chesham at craftsmanengineering.com, and we'll get you squared away.